This is a part 2 to the last video that I made. So going back to the topic of my biological mother. So because I believe it was my 11th grade or 10th grade year, I'm not too sure. I ran away from her house. It didn't work out. And it was weird. It felt very odd, right? I wasn't used to the whole setup. And I didn't know her. So yes, I went to my grandmother's house, right? To what I know, right? Because that's my family. That's my family. And ever since I broke away from my mom, right, from living with her, I believe she resented me for that. And through the years, as I got older, off and on, I would reach out to her. She would never really reach out to me, but I would call her up. I would damn near chase her, right? It was bad, and she never really had time for me, and it broke my heart, right? And I didn't really know what to do with that. I talked to my father about it, but it was more, and I'm just going off my memory, so it might not be 100% right, but I think it was more comical to him because he was always telling me, like, I told you, son. I told you. I told you she was different. And see, that's one thing I want to give respect and honor to my father. Yeah, he was abusive psychologically, physically, and mentally, but it wasn't all bad. It was man, I'd say 60% good, 40% bad. But between the two, my dad was consistent. He was always in my life. And now that I have kids, I know that it's not easy raising kids. It's not easy raising boys. I don't have any daughters, so I can only tell you guys, in my humble opinion, it ain't easy raising boys, right? And so to some degree, I do understand my why I went through what I went through, right? Life is hard. Life is tough for parents. It ain't just hard for kids, it's tough for parents too, now that I'm a parent. But I always told myself I never want to be a monster. I don't want to turn into the monster. I don't want to be like my dad in that aspect. So going back, the reason why I'm one of the reasons why I'm sharing these stories, in this case regarding my biological mother, for those that are out there, you guys that are out there, and this is for the women too, but I'm a guy, so I can only speak from my male perspective, right? For the guys out there where your mom don't want to have nothing to do with you, she don't fuck with you, if you continue to chase her and deal with abuse, I won't say abuse, what's the word, toxicity, right? A toxic relationship between you and your mother, where you're always chasing her. She ain't trying to break bread with you. She ain't trying to spend time with you. She ain't trying to be a mother. And you're constantly trying to chase her. You're constantly trying to build with her. And I laugh to stop from crying, because as you can see, I'm an older man, and you still will deal with issues that you may have experienced when you were a kid, when you were a young adult, when you were a teenager. Because even therapy doesn't fix everything. You can go through therapy all your life, and still have side effects. Therapy helps, but it's not a cure. It's kind of like the pharmaceutical companies, right, taking medication. It helps, but it doesn't cure. And if anything, it actually adds more issues, right? It helps, but it also adds, right, side effects. Well, therapy is good, but it also is also a side effect, because when you open up wounds that you're trying to heal, right? But you got to talk about it. But that's another way of opening up a wound that's semi-healed. Kind of like when you have a scab, right? And when you first get cut, right? It's fresh, and then after a couple of days, then it starts to develop a scab, and that means it's in the healing process. Keyword: healing process. When you go through therapy, you have to reopen that wound up. It may have halfway healed, but it's not completely there. So, fellas, I'm telling you something that I wish I knew what I know now back then. If your mother and your father don't want to fuck with you, stop it. Stop. And this is going to sound harsh, but I'm trying to save you a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of questions and blaming your and feeling like it's your fault, right? That your mom and your dad don't want to do right by you, or don't want to treat you right, or don't want to be in your life. Because I was chasing my mother year in and year out, and she really wasn't giving me the time of day. I'll give you an example. I started bonding with her, and she let me in her little world for a minute as an adult. I think I was like in my 30s. And I said, "Hey mom, let's meet up at the park," right? And because I honestly just wanted to sit at the park, and I wanted to talk to my mom. This gonna sound weird, y'all. I know how y'all guys can be, and it's all good. I just wanted to hug my mom. I just wanted to give her a kiss on the cheek. I just wanted to break bread and let her know I forgive her, and I love her dearly. And can we build from this moment on? Can we have a normal mother and son relationship? Can we go to the movies, hang out, go get something to eat? And I make an appointment with her. I'm like, "Hey mom, let's meet up at the park." And she was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And so we set it up, set up the time, the date. And I remember I had my wife, I had my wife drive me there. I was gonna drop her. I was gonna drop her off and the kids at the local mall that was close to the park. I was gonna spend some time with my mom. Now, granted, the only time that I really spent time with her as an adult was when I was living with her. And actually, there was another time where she came by my house and celebrated my son's birthday. And that's another story for another time. But going back to the park. So my mom, she agrees, right? She agreed with meeting up with me. Now I'm elated, dude. Now I'm in my 30s at that time, but I'm feeling like a teenager, like a 14, 15-year-old about to see his mom for the first time. That's what it felt like. And she said she gonna see if she can get time off or whatever. The day comes, And my wife and I and our kids were on our way to the park. No, we're on our way so I could drop off my wife and kids to the mall, and then I was going to drive myself to the park to meet up with my mom. So my mom lets me know 10, 15 minutes before we're supposed to meet up. Says, oh, I think she texted me. Yeah, she texted me. She said, I couldn't get the day off, and maybe we'll do it another time. And I don't even think she said another time. She said, I couldn't get the day off, and kind of just left it at that. And of course, my ass goes, oh, I'm texting her back. It's okay, Mom. Maybe next time, right? I'm trying to take the high road. I'm trying to be the parent in the room. And I didn't want to make her feel bad. So I said, maybe next time. So then, we stopped texting and whatnot. And then my wife, she's sitting in the car. My kids are sitting in the car. And they're like, what happened? So I tell them, right? And my wife is like, babe, it's okay. And of course, I felt like shit. Because here it is. I just wanted to spend time with my mom. I just wanted to break bread. I just wanted to get to know her. See what, see how her life is. See, not just over the phone. And we would rarely speak over the phone anyways. And a lot of times when we did talk, it turned into an argument. It just, our relationship and our communication would always go to shit. So I told my wife, I was like, kind of vented with her, and I was just like, look, she act like I ain't never had a job before. I work too. If you really want to take a day off, you would take that day off. Even if you took 100 days off, you're going to damn sure take a day off for your kids. So I'm thinking in my mind, that's bullshit. I'd rather her just say, I don't want to fuck with you. I don't want to be a mom. Well, she's made that clear in the past. But again, this is me constantly pushing the envelope. And we haven't seen each other since. And I was in my 30s. That I was hoping and thinking I was going to see her. And that we was going to break bread. I'll give you another situation. I was going through a divorce with my first wife. And my first wife was in communication more obviously in secret with my mom than I was. And so I ended up getting full, sole legal and full custody of my two boys. And my mother calls me. I haven't heard from her in years. My mother calls me and says, give those kids to their mother. And I'm thinking and I even told her, I said, are you fucking kidding me? You ain't been in my life. You play games, and now you want to tell me what to do? And you never took responsibility as a mom with me and my brother, and you trying to tell me to take my biological boys and give them to the mom when she has visitation and she has certain days out of the month that she has with her kids, but I have sole physical and legal custody? Are you kidding me? And it's very rare for a man to have sole legal and physical custody of his kids. And she think I'm gonna give that up? But I thought that how rich for her to tell me, her son, to give up my boys and give my boys to the biological mother when she ain't been a mother in my life. And I'm supposed to give up my kids just because that's the biological mother. Please. But it just blew my mind where I was like, how do you have the audacity to fucking tell me what to do with my own kids. And you couldn't even do it. So, going back when I was living with my biological mother, I was bonding with my uncle, her brother, and I remember he would tell me about, because I would ask him, hey, how was the relationship with my father and myself when I was born and when I was younger? And he told me, he was like, Mike, your dad was rough with you, dude. Like you'd be walking and he would like just swoop you up with one arm, like abruptly, rough. He said, man, your dad was rough with you. He said I couldn't understand it. Now my uncle, he don't have any kids, and so he was like, I couldn't understand it, man, why your dad was so rough. And he said there was a time where this is when Godfather first came out, the first Godfather, and he was like, man, I remember your dad named you after Michael Corleone, and he was telling me I think he wanted you to be tough. And my dad was a pretty big guy, pretty muscular. And so my uncle was telling me how my dad, back in those days, he was like an opposing figure. And then he knew some martial arts and whatnot. And you know how you try to do research on certain things? Like I always wanted to know what made my parents the way they are. What's their story? What makes them move and think the way they think, and what makes them act the way they act? So that was my way of trying to figure out my father and his story. So my uncle was proceeding to tell me how he was just trying to make me tough. And he thinks, like if you look at The Godfather, Michael Corleone's evolution from beginning to end, right? I think he started off in the military. He was kind of soft-spoken. He really didn't want to be involved with the family business, the mob business. He was kind of on the outs. And then eventually, they saw that he was wise and he had wisdom. He started slowly but surely getting into the family, right? The family business. And Michael Corleone was a force to be reckoned with. I did think that was very interesting, my uncle telling me that. Drop a comment in the comment section if any of you guys have experienced anything like this, right? Whether it's your father or your mother. And the same thing with the ladies. If y'all experience anything remotely close to this. This is Mike, keeping it simple and precise.